volleyball at Marika's, I've talked about before. Try to play twice a week. It's awesome fun. But you play with 3 male, 2 female, which is kind of the general layout of the game. And very often you show up and somebody's missing. And for the longest time, I would say, oh, we need a girl sub or a guy sub. And Kristen had told me at one point, you can't say girl. Like, you can't ask to have a girl. And so I tried my darndest to substitute it with every other possible word. I need a female. Now that's worse. I need a lady. Okay, that's creepy. I need a non-male. You know what I mean? It's like, I can't think of what to do. So everybody at Marika is just, I think, resigned to the fact that they're just going to say girl sub, guy sub. And everyone's okay with it.
I think instead of assuming that girl is a pejorative, I think we just need to sort of make peace with the notion that, hey, this is a descriptor that actually is a positive, right? Like one of my opinions on language, and this is a hot take.
Okay.
Maybe this is a hot take, but and let me actually take a reductionist approach here. Can either of you name a offensive term for a Canadian?
Canuck?
Nope. We have a hockey team called the Canucks.
No.
And you know why?
Because you're so nice.
When somebody comes up with a word like Canuck, we're like, yeah,
lean into
we
it.
like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think like if folks just lean into some of this language that everybody gets hurt by and say, yeah, that's our word, all of a sudden it loses power.
And I'll say at Marika's, we have all leaned into it. It's nobody says anything else. That's how they ask for a sub, and it, you know, it's outsiders that hear it that are going like, wait, that's not. There's got to no. Come on, you can't say that.
Just on the flip side, there, how often do you ask for a boy sub?
Well, we don't.
Is the default to understand that a sub means male sub?
No, not that at all. It's just we say guy. We say guy or girl.
Okay.
So could you go gal?
I think, you know,
Full 1950s guys and gals?
Or broad. Why don't you just say broad?
A broad, yeah.
Or a dame.
A dame.
Dame.
A skirt. I need a skirt on this team.
Let's put this one up to a vote in the comment section. Let us know if you prefer dame, broad, or gal.
Which of those is the least offensive? Right. Perhaps is the better way.
I think we go back to girl. I got to say that.
You know what, though? If you lean into it, the answer is none of them.
Yeah.
You are listening to The Soapbox. I'm Paul.
And I'm Eric.
This all started out with a list. What's that all about?
So I've compiled a list over the years of things that just bother, things that grind my gears. And I shared that list with you.
And I thought, you know what? That would make interesting conversation. Sometimes I'm going to want to agree with you, and it's just going to be something we talk about. Other times, though, I'm going to want to steel man the opposite position because I think that's just interesting conversation.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I'm always right, but Paul's just a really good debater.
Hey.
We have a treat for our listeners, for sure. And that's in the other room, and we can go have some... Oh, no. It's our wonderful guest, who I want to set up with how I think we met. Correct me or add to it. But there was a push on Facebook for all local bands to subscribe to other local bands' content. And it was kind of like, hey, let's all go like all other stuff, get our likes up, our subscriptions up, and it was. So
this was the shop local movement of local music.
I think so, and I don't even know who cooked it up, but
I don't know.
And I got invites from a bunch of bands, and I sent a bunch, and and your Babs on there, and I thought maybe we knew each other, maybe from a show or something before, but we ended up chatting, and then you had a show I went to see with the Tragic Kingdom, I believe.
Yes,
right?
yes, that first iteration.
Which you usually don't talk about.
So I know, I don't talk about that one.
For folks that maybe don't know Babs and Tragic Kingdom, you want to just kind of give the elevator pitch who they are and...
Me, you?
Oh,
yeah. Set us up.
Oh, okay.
On the spot.
So yes, my name's Babs. In addition to many life things, I happen to play in a couple of bands. One of which started off as a No Doubt tribute band, which is a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, no, I listened to that episode, by the way.
Oh, my God. We might have to revisit your Art from the Artist.
Yes.
Because, Gwen, come on. Anyway, started off as a No Doubt tribute band, but kind of evolved into just promoting non-male musicians. So all the songs, for the most part, that we played were either written by non-men or played by them. And I'm also in a slightly political band
Punk band
called,
right?
Jockey Onassis.
Yeah, which they're great.
It's a lot of fun. But you auditioned for that band.
I did, and I
Didn't get it.
no.
No, tell them if you don't
Hold
mind.
on.
What was
It's okay. I didn't get it either.
Yeah.
I didn't audition, but
But you might have. What was the song you said? Oh my gosh, this is the song that tested. Do you remember?
I remember. You gave me a couple songs to listen to, and one was a Descendants song,
Yes.
right? And it was. Wait, hang on. Oh shoot. Still with you? No.
So close.
So yeah, nothing with you.
Yes.
yes. And the bass line on that is an audition bass line. Like if you can't play this bass line, you can't hang in this band. And I remember saying I backed out of the band just because I have time constraint.
Yes.
I'm just I worry about all that stuff. And but I remember saying, but please listen to my version of this song because I got the
Yeah, 'cause you
song.
got it.
I didn't get scared off by that. But the other band, Tragic Kingdom.
Well, we had some lineup changes, and I think I picked up Alan first. Give Alan a shout out.
He was at that same show, right? That I
He
came to.
was
Yeah.
at Manchester.
What does Alan do with the band? Because I don't know any of
He
these
plays
people.
guitar.
Okay.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. And
Yes.
it's like the drummer from the original incarnation and I just kept like holding out hope. We'll pick up other people. So we locked in Alan, and then we were trying out bass players, and I just on a whim reached out to you.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know if Eric will want to play with me after, like, I don't know. But I think you had the same reaction. I can't believe you reached out to me. Like, I'm really surprised. Like, in a good way. Like, yeah, let's do this. So we've played some shows.
And then COVID, like, stunted us, I think. And then
Yes.
we did a few after that.
There was at least one COVID show because I was
Yeah.
at a pool party where you all
Yes.
played.
Yeah.
Maybe our last. No, we did Henry Clay.
Yeah, we
after
did Henry Clay Public House.
that.
We were the first, what I call COVID casualty,
Yeah.
show-wise, because we were supposed to play at Lina's, RIP Lina's. Yeah. And they canceled our show. It was like 2 days after all the shutdowns happened. So,
Yeah.
and then I canceled some gigs because someone in my life had health issues, and I was afraid of bringing things to them. But
Yep.
yeah, so Tragic Kingdom's been on like hiatus. Alan and I still go play together sometimes, but the goal there was to promote songs that were wonderful that people did not get to hear out very often.
And that's kind of how I was sold on it. Was it's like you can go because it's basically 90s. It kind of focused around
Yeah,
90s.
a lot of 90s.
You can go see a 90s band and you're gonna hear, Nirvana,
Bush, Soundgarden, Alice in
STP,
Chains,
Tonic.
STP, Tonic.
yeah,
Right.
and none of these bands have a female singer, and it's because there's a guy singing for this cover band, and he can try, but he's not going to be able to pull off Gwen Stefani or.
I don't know. I'm pretty
a lot
confident
of-
in my falsetto.
That's true. That's true.
Or Sheryl Crow.
Or Sheryl Crow.
I love Sheryl Crow. So my goal was I love these songs and I never hear them played. Like we picked up that Elle King song,
Yeah.
X's Nose, not a
Yeah.
90s song.
Yeah.
She's problematic too, I understand.
Oh, that's fun.
But we play these songs and people would say, oh my gosh, I love this song. I
places.
never hear this.
Yeah.
So it was just
Maps. I hear on
Maps.
I hear that on the
Maps
radio.
I hear every time I go to karaoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
That's
okay.
one that's
It's gotten
a
really
karaoke
big again.
Banger.
Yeah.
So would it be fair to classify this as Lilith Fair? Because this was
Yes.
big in the 90s.
True.
I was a Total Request Live child.
Me
And so
too.
all of the Paula Cole and the Shauna Colvin and the Gwen Stefani and stuff like that. That was a big movement in the late 90s, early 2000s. And so when I heard Tragic Kingdom and No Doubt cover band, that's exactly where my brain went because it
Yeah.
was like this tracks. These things seem to be parallel.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. They're all phenomenal songs. And ones that we try that don't work out get cut,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Like we played Mother Mother by Tracy Bonham. I just can't get the timing right. It's on me. The band sounds great. And then that, for all my millennial people who are listening, that Can't Fight the Moonlight, that was like the
Yeah.
generational song. It randomly changes key at the end
Yeah.
and it doesn't make any sense. So
yeah.
it's really hard to sing.
Yeah, that one, did that have a connection to Coyote Ugly?
Yeah, it was the Coyotes.
It was,
Come
yeah.
on,
Okay,
E.
okay, yeah,
You could pull the classic maneuver from the 70s and just turn the volume down before you get to the end.
yeah, just fade out.
We don't have time
Should
for the
have
whole
done that.
song, but we're going to give you the best part.
That's right. So that's kind of how we know each other, playing music together. There's your sirens.
Take a shot. How old is that getting, I wonder? Yeah, yeah. So, and I think we famously had a, I'm trying to think if this wasn't that, maybe this was that same show, but the Red Hot Chili Peppers, was that the show?
Yes.
Yeah.
You had to back out of that show, your other band,
Arizona
and
Bay,
you recommended us.
Yes, but then the it was Manchester Music Hall.
Yes.
Also reached out to a band.
Can
right?
we just go ahead and say R.I.P. Manchester Music Hall because they only book country acts now?
Do they really?
Ish. They book some regional rock bands too, I think.
It's
Is
fewer
it
and
getting
farther
better?
between.
Because
Yeah,
every time I've looked at their website in the last year, I've been just disappointed.
that's just what I think. That's what sells for them right now.
It's what sells for a lot of
Yeah.
places. They do also have, I randomly went with a friend to a Taylor Swift dance party. A DJ literally comes and just plays Taylor Swift the whole night, and it was so packed I couldn't move.
Wow.
So that's what people I think they're into.
In that space.
They love T Swift. She's awesome.
I'm having a moment where I'm like, get off my lawn. I know I'm an old man. I don't understand you whippersnappers with your Taylor Swift DJs.
Taylor Swift DJ.
And I know it's gonna be some guy, right? Like some guy up there, like, okay, you guys ready? Here
No,
we
he
go."
was awesome. He was just think about how fun his job was. I just go
Yeah.
play Taylor Swift and people have a great time.
And I get paid to.
I get paid.
Be in iTunes playlist.
Yeah, that's as a musician, I look over, I go,
I know. But I always look at Taylor Swift as a segue to get people into music, period.
I mean, that's great. That's a great way to look at it.
Because, you know, I don't do Spotify, but I have Apple Music. And it'll say other artists like this. So if someone is like, okay, I've kind of exhausted this catalog, what else is out there?
Yeah.
They're going to go out and explore. So it just gets people into music.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily even a Taylor Swift hater. I don't think her songs were written for me for sure, but I have noticed sort of an interesting phenomenon with my daughter. My daughter's 10 years old, and she's trying on music. And at first, her musical tastes were clearly trying to please Dad, because she would come home and she'd say, "Dad, I was listening to Foo Fighters at school today." I'm like, "Atta girl, you know, that's good music, good rock music." But then I'll notice her with her friends, and all of a sudden the catalog is like, "Oh yeah, you know, this Taylor Swift song, this Ellie Holcomb song, something else
Yes.
other than, you know," and I'm fine with that too, because it's like, one, if it's not like reprehensible lyrics, and two, if it's something that, you know, resonates with her, then more power to her.
Any YouTube artists in there, like the song "It's Raining Tacos"? If
I don't know that one. Oh, no.
This is just solely just like somebody on YouTube
That
got
is
big.
Perry Grip is
You know
the
this?
guy,
Oh
and
yeah,
he was originally, he played with a 90s band, the Nerf Herders, if you
I
remember
remember the
them.
Nerf. They did the theme song for Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes. And so Perry Grip is this guy that made his money, and he decided he was going to just make stuff that he liked. And he got second famous on YouTube for Hamster on a Piano. And it was just a little baby hamster on some white piano keys, and the person was playing the piano, and the hamster just rolled between the keys as the fingers rolled, and it was adorable.
That's so cute.
So if you look up
Really cute.
Hamster
Well
on a
played.
Piano,
I'll find it there.
yeah, that's the guy from the Nerf Herders, and he's the one that does Raining Tacos and probably half a dozen other things that my kids constantly play
earworms.
on the Amazon robot.
Yeah, that's So that's a whole other genre of music. That
Yeah.
you know.
Yep. And I'm right there, because my other two kids are 5 and 7, and so it's like, as long as they're not doing something fart related, then yeah.
Well, I used to listen. I mean, I honestly have, I would say, the most eclectic taste in music of anybody I know.
Are you one of those world music people where you're like, I just want to listen to the djembe?
No, I mean, that's a nice sound, but I'm just not into whatever like Florida Georgia line is, right? Whatever,
yeah.
or Morgan Wallen. No, thank
Yeah,
you.
okay.
But
Everything else is pretty much fair
You also
game.
don't have the external appearance of a meth addiction, so that tracks.
That's track. No, I mean, years ago I was in a really gothy band, and we did this little interview, and they said, "What kind of music did you listen to growing up?" And I said, "Well, if my dad was in the car, it was like Three Dog Night or CCR. But with my mom, it was like Delilah. You all remember Delilah?
Delilah.
Amy Grant.
Yeah.
And Mariah and all those things. Excuse me. So I just love it all. Love it all.
I want to go back to the goth band for a second.
Oh my. Sure.
Can you help me out with what flavor of goth here? Are we Evanescence goth
No.
or were we darker?
This is we made our own genre called goth industrial synth pop.
That sounds like a Starbucks order.
It sure does. It's like the Starbucks of goth, I guess.
I'm trying to picture, like, was it KMFDM or something like that?
We did a KMFDM cover. We sure did. And then we also covered a band called, I can't remember who it was. I'll come back to it some other time. We didn't do many covers. We covered the song from the Breakfast Club.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Just for fun. But
Yeah.
it was kind of new wavy.
They had sort of a goth character on the Breakfast Club.
They did, the Ali Sheedy character.
So, yeah, that tracks.
Thanks.
But it was just like dancey. But it was about totally nonsensical things like zombies
Yeah.
and stuff. It was so fun. We had a great time.
You just unlocked a core memory for
Oh,
me.
no.
No, it's okay. It was a pleasant one. So growing up, my dad would represent himself as a Beatles fan, right? Like that was his musical identity. I'm supposedly named after Paul McCartney, though my mom would say the Apostle Paul. So, you know, the origin story differs depending upon
Are they different people? I'm just kidding.
You know, I can't prove that they're not.
I don't know that Beatles fans would say they were different.
You know, John Lennon did say that they were bigger than Jesus. So,
Well, yeah, he did.
That's possible.
Imagine that.
Wah, wah.
I'm not gonna push it.
Yeah, where's that sound effect?
So I came home from a speech team competition, and my dad was waiting in the parking lot of the school to pick me up off the bus, and he was blasting some Rob Zombie and knew the lyrics.
Which song do you remember?
It was Dragula.
Yes.
And so here I am, like thinking my dad is, you know, supposed to be listening to Three Dog Night and the Beatles and you know, just basically 70s pop rock. And no, he was getting down with some
Rob Zombie, man.
Rob Zombie, and he knew the lyrics, and that really surprised me. And then, you know, in future conversations, he would say stuff like, "Oh yeah, when we lived in Calgary, I could drive down to Seattle and see Nirvana before they were big." And I'm like,
What
"Why
a
didn't
life.
you tell me you were cool?" Like,
Well, if you told you were cool, that would ruin everything.
I guess that maybe I wouldn't have liked some of those bands if I thought that was.
Or you wouldn't respect him as like an authority figure. That's my cool friend.
Yeah.
Likes
Maybe,
the cool music.
maybe. So yeah, I do feel like sometimes you get those weird connections that sort of don't seem to fit, and then they fit way better once you think about them.
So you talked about inventing a genre. Back at the time when there was no streaming services out there, and you had CDs, but we also had computers and Winamp and all that. I had ripped all of my music to MP3 and MP3s, and then we had a group of people. We all just combined all of our MP3s. It was like Halloween, like sharing.
Oh my
candy.
gosh.
All
We just-
legally because they own the source
Clear-
material.
Yeah, there you go.
But you know, a lot of times we'd listen to this music at poker night or whatever. So we're all there together. So that's how we justified it. By the way, every time a new album comes out, I buy it on Amazon so I can get the MP3. So I pay for because I had this whole dark time of not paying for music, which as a musician, you know, it's like
Shame on you.
But those are gone. But anyway, we did collect all of our music together, and we were just insistent on the tags. So MP3s had tags in them.
I knew you during this phase
Yes,
of
I
life.
think you did. Yeah, you lived
You
next
didn't know
door.
this side of him, it seems.
Oh, no, I did. Actually,
Yeah.
probably we probably shared some illicit music content because I had a collection. If you'd started the first song on my playlist, it would play for 16 and a half years before it would loop again.
Oh my gosh.
And,
Wow.
And then I had a moral dilemma with it, and I decided it's gone. I deleted the whole catalog, and I've since I pay for Spotify. That's my primary mechanism for consuming music. It's that or the radio.
I don't think piracy like that really is prevalent nowadays because streaming's so
With
much
music, but can we go down a rabbit hole for a moment?
do.
Wait, is it a trail or a hole?
If you ask Smiley, it's a rabbit hole.
I know. I had to make sure we set up front.
But yeah, Eric's still team rabbit trail. I think just to aggravate Smiley.
I'm just confused at this point. Let's go down a rabbit.
I feel like it depends on how deep you're going, because a trail doesn't go so far, but a hole could
Did
go
you just
to
say go
infinity.
down a rabbit? Because now we're doing surgery on an animal, and it's a third thing entirely.
Hey, my dog, Not gonna go there.
No. But yeah, the piracy thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's prevalent in music because I think the music industry did it correctly. If you have Apple Music and I have Spotify, we have access to the same catalogs of songs.
Amazon Music as well. Yeah.
Amazon Music as well, with some exceptions when artists want to make a protest and pull their stuff, or if there's a contract negotiation. But largely, anything that you want to find on your platform, I can find on my platform, and then we can talk about music and be commiserate in that conversation because it's not platform exclusive.
Yes.
But what happened with Netflix? Netflix did the whole single source aggregate form of streaming content for video purpose, and then every other company that was a production company that owned these IPs thought they could spin their own up, compete with Netflix, and have exclusive content. And over time, that market has become so fragmented that what I've seen online is a bit of a pro-piracy resurgence, because Eric will talk about stuff that he sees on Apple streaming that I don't have access to because I'm paying for Netflix. And if I wanted to watch The Office, I'd have to get Peacock. If I wanted to watch new episodes of King of the Hill, I'd have to go get Hulu. So you can't have one streaming service and have all the content. You can't have one streaming service with audio and have all the content. So I think this is probably a really good cultural case study to say, if you don't want people to steal your stuff, keep it accessible and keep it available both from a pricing standpoint and a platform standpoint.
The issue with all these, though, is that the people who are actually creating the creators, they are not being taken care of.
Yeah.
With music, that's maybe
also
true.
for, like, I listened to the Office Ladies podcast.
Yeah.
And they don't have any residual rights from streaming.
Really?
None of those shows, I think, do. Only when they were in syndication on networks.
Okay.
I don't know all those details,
Yeah.
but they're also not making, but Netflix is making a lot of money, or NBC or whoever. So I think I agree. Yeah. It's not being stolen as much, but the people creating the stuff are not being compensated either. So they lose in all of those cases.
Yeah. I would like to see something fair for the content producer and the consumer both, because right now, like government or any other large entity that gets to kind of make all the decisions at the expense of all the people involved, there's only one side benefiting, and it's not typically pro consumer, it's not typically pro content producer unless you're the large corporation.
Right.
So yeah, I could get down with that.
I'm going to bring us back to what I think might be our topic with finish my tag story here. So
told you it was a rabbit trail. Sorry.
So yeah, famously MP3s, you could tag them and you could put the album name, the artist, the genre. There's a whole depth to it, and we got so nerdy with it because you could have star ratings, you could have contributing artists, and I'd make playlists based on this data. Data guy, right? So I would do this, and one of the genres, I didn't use any default genres because they didn't make any sense to me. I wanted progressive rock and alternative metal or whatever. One of my categories, and I think you can go to my MP3, right click on it, still to this day, girl rock. And it legitimately, I wanted a way to say, hey, play me those songs, and this is before Tragic Kingdom, but I wanted, hey, play me the songs that I want to hear Tragic Kingdom play. And a lot of times I would do that because, Kristen would get tired of me playing Tool and Rush and all this stuff. And I'd be like, you know what? I love this music. I think these are a lot of bands she likes, and we'd play it and clean the house or whatever.
Geddy Lee is fine on the bass and terrible on the
I just got us back on track, Paul.
Well, quit triggering me.
Well, we're talking about female vocalists. We can talk about Geddy Lee.
We could. All right.
Fly by night. No.
What a beautiful voice.
He has a
So
wonderful
beautiful.
voice, I think. Yeah.
It's like somebody's putting a cat through a meat grinder backwards.
What?
Screechy.
Okay,
He is
no.
Screechy. Yes.
Sidebar. We'll table that. Table that.
Sidebar.
Table it.
Can we steal that and then replace the rabbit trail with
Yeah,
sidebar?
called sidebar.
There you go. So let's get into girl-fronted music.
Oh boy.
What is this?
Man. Okay. So as someone who is not a man, who has always been the front person of a band, if I had a penny for every time someone said female fronted band, or, oh, I don't know if we can book your band, we already have one with a girl. Wow. Literally. I mean, and I've seen somebody else, I don't remember the artist, she was going to play at a festival and they went to cancel her act. And she said, do you really want only one of 2 female artists at your festival to not have a spot on this bill? And they were like, oh. So this is one of those things that can go off in 1,800 different directions. Sure. But it's just music and the industries, or where we find ourselves in music, it's just very problematic for non-men. Because I don't just say women, it's not just women. There's a whole group of people who fall in betweens categories and labels. But that goth band I was in had 2 women. Wow. I mean, people lost their minds. 2 of you.
How dare you congregate?
Are you all any good?
Vote, right?
Does one of you play her instrument for her? I think the bass player was asked, so did someone show you how to play? Like, does someone write your parts for you?
It's like Billy Corgan, right? Or Darcy, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yes.
I don't know that.
So Smashing Pumpkins, Billy Corgan, I think just in general was a narcissist.
Still is.
Yeah, still is. But
I'm cursory aware that he had issues with writing credits.
Yeah, and I think he played all the instruments on the album except maybe drums.
But then I think he's one of those people that there's no deviation. If he wrote it, it's canon. You don't change.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's got to be stifling as someone who's trying to play parts they didn't write. But all that to say, I stumbled across an article that I sent to you a couple years ago where someone finally put all my words into action, and it just said, female fronted is not a genre. And I thought, oh my God, you're right. It's not. The default understanding is if you say drummer, what gender of drummer are you talking about? A man. Yeah. You probably envision, I think most people would just think a man. Same for all the other instruments. I don't know if singer falls into that as much anymore.
Front man.
Yeah, front man. So we say front person. So the band Jockey Onassis that I'm in, the political band, how do you like that? It's political and Kentucky.
Horse, yeah.
Our guitarist is quite the jokester, and he said, this is stupid. Let's just call ourselves male-backed punk.
Okay.
So that's these labels you can create. You can still do that. So we have male-backed punk.
So can I ask a derivative question?
Sure.
It sounds to me like the gripe is that the girl band is pejorative. Or it can be taken in the pejorative, even if it's not intended to, based upon the assumptions that underlie. How do you feel about the current movement to promote things like female-owned business?
So that's like a whole other topic, because that to me falls in diversity, equity, inclusion, where you're creating an equitable situation. So those labels exist to me in a way to call to attention that something is imbalanced. So by
I guess the assumption then with the girl band that it's being used in an exclusionary fashion and not in an inclusionary fashion?
Yes.
Okay.
So I agree with Eric. Sometimes it's nice to label things so you can go to something that satisfies something you need in your brain, like a little scratch.
Yeah.
But I've heard men say, well, I don't like that band. I don't like female singers. Like it's just a blanket statement. And I don't like what they sing about. I don't like what they write about. Their voice grates on me.
I've said that about Geddy Lee. So
well, you did. But it's like women or non-men, traditionally, from what I've seen from playing, just watching different bands in the industries, women have to prove themselves, like any other thing in the world, so much harder. When I first started playing with this band, I remember I wasn't quite confident. So I moved around a little bit, not with Tragic Kingdom, but the other band, but I stood at my microphone and sang really like my heart out. And someone's comment was, well, I wish you'd move around more. But I've seen Chevelle, who's like, you all can't see me, but they just stand there and they don't do anything. But
the
no
male
one
doesn't pay the,
Is the parallel here sort of like, why don't you smile? Does it sort of have that same connotation?
Kind of. It's people feeling that they should, in my opinion, tell women what to do with their body in the space that it occupies. What is it for that is pleasing for them to see? And they're really disregarding the other part of what's going on in that instance.
If I'm not mistaken, Billie Eilish famously like kind of covered up her body,
Yes.
like through her, and maybe still does, but she didn't want her career to be based on her looks.
Yep.
She wanted it based on her voice, which is beautiful. But yeah, so I think that maybe is a reaction to this.
Probably so, but
Yeah.
women can't win. She does that. Why are you wearing so many clothes?
Yeah.
Men don't have this problem. They really don't, by and large. I'm sure someone out there would say that's not true. There's always one dissenter. But by and large, there hasn't always been space for women in this area. And so when they carve it out for themselves, you have to work extra hard to keep that spot for yourself.
One thing I'd like to maybe go back to for a moment, if I can, and not to.
It's Geddy Lee and his.
Yeah, can we all just agree that Geddy Lee's trash? No,
No,
No way.
no.
I know. That's my hot take. I'm going to get flamed by somebody, and I don't care. I'll stick to my story. But on the multiple girl bands being booked and one being bumped, this is foreign to me. I wouldn't think that asking who the lead singer is or who the members of the band would matter at all. Is this a common practice? Is this something that their billing is not going to sell as many seats? Is this a function of it being a WNBA game where the fans aren't going to show up if they don't have enough guys on the microphone? Like what's driving that?
I don't know. Internalized misogyny. I mean, some things can't be explained. They just exist in the way that we are.
On behalf of the venue and the people booking it, or
Sure.
on behalf of the audience?
Yeah, and sometimes people feel like if you have a woman in your band, you're doing it for some nefarious purpose or to get attention. It's tokenism. It's not that person doesn't. Yeah, that person doesn't actually deserve to be in that band. She probably took a spot from a guy singer that was really good, but you picked her. Oh, okay, probably because you thought more people would come and see you, not because they have great things to say. They're very talented. They fit the music. Those are not the first thoughts not for everybody, but for a lot of people.
Can I ask the dissenters a question here for a moment? And this is
Are the dissenters in the room with us?
no, but I feel like folks would maybe think this and maybe be too scared to ask, but I'm stupid enough I will.
Okay.
Do you think that tokenism has existed long enough that people maybe at a subconscious level feel like that's the right thing to do?
Sure.
So, like, is the battle now that women have been included because they're supposed to be included, and so the mentality of I have to prove myself maybe exists because you kind of do in a sense. Otherwise, there is the default assumption that you're only there because you've been included for DEI reasons or tokenism reasons.
I'd say, I don't know when this will end, but yes, I feel like non-white men have to constantly prove themselves in all areas.
Yeah.
But if we keep it just in regards to music, because I don't want to speak on anybody else's experience other than what I've seen or other industries. But like I said, having in that band where we had 2 women, it was just people were weird. Although in the goth scene, they are the most accepting people.
Because you can hardly tell who's a male or female once you get that much makeup on.
No, I don't think that's it. I think you're dealing with people who are used to being marginalized in some way and that they kind of gravitate towards that. But I remember after we would play, I would like go to the restroom afterwards, and anybody that was in there, they were just so complimentary and encouraging. And I don't find that necessarily with other genres of music. That's like a whole other thing. But
Yeah.
I really enjoyed my time playing in that band because it was like a very supportive community.
I would say this whole conversation kind of varies among genres, right?
It does.
I mean, obviously, teen pop, you're going to have plenty of women. It's going to be strange if a guy's singing, in some areas. But punk rock, I guess
It's pretty diverse.
It's pretty diverse, yeah.
Punk rock's been that way for a while. One of my favorite punk acts from Vans Warped Tour circa 2000, 2001 was Tsunami Bomb.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
We sang The Simple Truth for a while.
Yeah, that was their big one.
It's a hard song to sing. Our
is,
voice is very high.
Yeah, it was hard for me to sing along in my car, but I tried.
You did your best.
Did my best.
The Four Non Blondes kind of come to mind, too.
Linda Perry, right?
Yeah.
Was she in there? Yeah.
Just as a band, they were kind of making it as like a statement of we're diving into like this male dominated music genre, and we're they were even kind of playing the whole blonde card too.
So I feel like, one, this is something I have a hard time relating to because it's not a problem I was even aware of, right? Because I'm not a musician. I'm not a female. I don't deal with booking. It's a whole different world. But I've got a daughter, and I would love for her to grow up in a world where she doesn't feel like she's going to be discriminated against if she decides that's what she wants to do, like music or something like that. She tends to favor my musical ability more than my wife's, so that may not be a risk for her.
Just wait. I watched Vivian do this. She loved all my bands, and then she found her own music, which is beautiful, and I love that too.
She's 10. She's probably going to excel. She's taking piano lessons. She'll do way better than I ever have. But I guess I say that to say this. In your opinion, which I understand, you may not have an answer for this question, and that's okay. What's the solution? How do we fix this as a culture?
I don't necessarily have an answer. I've been playing the Lexington music scene since the early 2000s. And for a long time, the other woman and I in that band were the only women playing in any bands at the shows. That's part of the problem. One, I don't think that for a long period of time, again, genre specific, that women felt like they had a place. They didn't feel welcome there. I think that is changing, but has more work to do. So I don't know, for anyone who plays music, just keep an open mind. It's hard to do. I think people are used to playing with like one kind of person or whoever. And the idea of playing with someone who's not like that is tough, I guess. I mean, most of your bands have had all men in it, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So what made you decide, or maybe it wasn't a decision, maybe you just rolled with it. Like, why did you think that this would be like, okay?
Well, for one thing, most of my bands have basically the same members.
That's true.
Usually we're just trading out a person or two over the years.
That's a fair point.
I've probably played with the same core group of people. I think just we've never found anyone interested. All my friends, the spouses of the guys I know who I adore, none of them play music. Or if they do, it's a different genre. So I think that for me, I think it was a lack of supply, like a lack of people there. Now we've never had to go up to audition or anything like that. Well, that's not entirely true. We did audition Daniel, but when you're asking for a Tool tribute drummer, I don't imagine very many women would jump on that. Maybe they.
But did you ask?
Well, we asked all of Facebook. Actually,
yes,
I literally got kicked off Facebook because I wrote a program to email everybody who likes Tool on Facebook.
Of course you did.
Of course.
And yeah.
That's using your tech prowess for good and not evil, Eric.
Yeah,
I support that.
I still to this day can't use my email address to log into Facebook. I have to use some other thing.
Boy.
Yeah, because I'm still on the naughty list.
So, I don't know. I think just making it understood for everybody who wants to play music that there's a place for them. When I decided to go back out, and I'd been in a couple cover bands, I wanted to go join an original project. I went to good old Craigslist. And I found a band, and I kid you not, I found myself asking, "You're looking for a singer. Would you be okay with a woman?" And they're like, "I guess." Like the tone was lukewarm at best.
Yeah.
So I specifically sought out a post that said looking for female singer. And that feels like it contradicts what I'm saying, but it doesn't, because their goal was not to promote being female fronted. That's the sound they wanted for whatever project they were working on.
Yeah.
And I knew that I would be welcome there. It was like I felt welcome. Even if these posts had said open to any voice, that would have been fine, but they don't.
See, that informs the songs that you can play, though, because you sing male sung songs, I'm sure, and guys sing female songs, but there's certain songs where I don't think it works, or if it does work, it's not great.
Sure.
I do think there's a level of subjectivity to art and music in general where there has to be a little bit of sometimes a bit of discrimination, right? Like if I'm writing music from the male perspective and then we turn around and put a female front, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't resonate with the audience based on the initial message. I saw this play out a little bit with a band that I'm going to admit that I like, and then I'm going to immediately admit that I'm ashamed that I like them. Linkin Park.
Why are you ashamed?
Because,
Do you like Emily Armstrong as their new singer?
well, so this feeling developed when I saw Linkin Park with Chester still fronting the band before his tragic passing. But I went to a show. I went to a show at Rupp Arena years ago, and I looked around all the new metal fans, and I looked around at all these like skinny-looking guys with cut-off sleeves, and you know they were all shouting the lyrics back at the stage, and I'm like, my goodness, am I one of these people?
You're one of those people.
And
Did you take a shot?
take a shot. But no, I decided in that moment, I'm like, it's shameful to like Linkin Park. And for years,
That's too bad.
This was around the time Meteora came out, which was a mediocre album anyway. And for about 10 years, I went from loving Linkin Park to listening to it with the windows rolled up and the volume down just a little bit. And then Chester died, and a couple of songs that were cut from old albums got repolished and released in the interim. And then Emily Armstrong took over as the lead singer, and I kind of loved it. And I kind of loved it because I heard Mike Shinoda give an interview where he said that he had seen some Linkin Park cover bands, and he realized that if they picked another voice that sounded like Chester, they were only ever going to be a cover band of their former self.
Yeah.
And the only way that he felt like they could evolve as a band is if they went a new direction. And Emily brought some of that punk energy. She has a different vocal range. She has a different experience. She has different songwriting chops. And I really like the new album, save for one or two songs. I think most of that album is very listenable, and it's on my workout playlist right now.
Now, she's a tiny bit problematic with her Scientology roots and Danny Masterson support. But that aside, if you really want to check out why she's a good fit for Linkin Park, go listen to the song Lemon Scent.
Lemon Scent.
From her band Dead Sarah.
Okay.
We used to cover it. It's an incredible song, and she is unbelievable. It's not like any of the other songs that they put out. It's very unique, but it's such a great song. But I think if you listen to that, you can see why they were like, hey, I think she could make this work.
She's got one note in one song that she holds. It's like a screaming 10 seconds. And I try to just do it in the car and not pass out while driving. And that, for me, was the moment where I'm like, yeah, she's got the vocal chops. She can make it happen. So.
Only problem, she loses her voice, though, if she leaves Scientology. I think it's probably like one of the... the thing.
Because they unalive you, right?
Yeah, you're gone. But I think what you say is interesting about certain people being able to sing certain things. I don't know. I think well-written songs, some of my favorite songs that are written by men, you can't tell that it's about something gender specific.
Sure.
Yeah.
Life struggles are pretty universal.
I'll give you another example then, just to maybe cement it, and I'll remove gender from the equation.
Okay.
The band Bad Wolves, the lead singer from that band is apparently difficult to get along with. The rest of the band voted him off the island. And they got a new lead singer. The problem is that the guy that nobody liked wrote all those songs about his childhood trauma, his experience with his brother, and now a new guy is singing these songs and they're not his stories to tell.
Yeah.
And it's man to man, but every time I hear Bad Wolves, I'm thinking, this is not the same. This is a corporate, polished regurgitation of what it originally was, and I don't like it. And so I wouldn't use male-female as the exclusionary criteria, but I would suggest that there are certain lived experiences that a man couldn't sing about that a woman has, and that a woman couldn't sing about that a man has. So I would expect somebody to be sensitive to that.
Unless it's almost done ironically or comically, like I Will Survive.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
When Cake does that.
Cake does that. Although they do change the gender, don't they?
Or there's a punk band with the male singer that did Complicated by Avril Lavigne,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I love it. Or Hit Me Baby One More Time, the Britney Spears song.
Yeah.
But I will say this, Brandon Boyd, singer of Incubus, is my favorite vocalist of all time and lyricist. He's brilliant. But he once said that he actually prefers women songwriters because since women are able to create life, they're able to create things that are more interesting in general, so that he finds women just so fascinating. And I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. Not to downplay what men sing about, but we've been hearing male written songs forever and like so much less music written by non-men, that I feel like people automatically just write off a song that's not written by a man. Cause like, what is that? That's not going to interest me. Jockey Onassis was playing a show at Cosmic Charlie's version 2.0, R.I.P. And they were live streaming this song. I'll never forget this. So this song, if anyone's interested, is called The Absurdity of the Modern Condition. It's about oppression. So I'm like, this song's about oppression and how terrible it is. And this guy goes, great. Like, great. And he's streaming it. And then we get to this breakdown and he goes, that's effing awesome. This song's great. And I thought, but it's still about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think he forgot that he was not into it. But it's just, there's a lot of passion and feeling. There are a lot of feelings in that song. So all that to say, if he just put aside his prejudice about this topic sounds stupid, it's not stupid. You just don't like having a mirror held up to like what's happening.
Well, listen to the music, love the song, and then go back and look at the lyrics and learn something, figure out something.
Or don't. I don't think I could listen to much Tool if I listen to the lyrics.
Well, you do.
Oh no! But that's a band. Maybe you're in it for the music, and you go listen to A Perfect Circle for the lyrics.
I do love A Perfect Circle.
Oh my God, I know.
Maynard
is like, Brandon Boyd's here. Maynard's like right there.
Yeah.
His voice will just put you to sleep in the best way. Just like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful.
Have you heard him sing with, Muhammad, my friend, with, what's her name? He sang, she's playing piano and singing Muhammad, my friend. And
Was it Fiona?
No.
Nora Jones?
Red hair.
Tori Amos.
Yes. And he's sitting on the piano bench with her and she's singing and he's singing. Oh, find it on YouTube. It's beautiful.
I feel like I saw a clip of this.
Probably have. It was a long time ago, but yeah, beautiful song.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna probably try to wrap it up here. Let me ask real quick. You've mentioned kind of a hiatus with Tragic Kingdom. Is there anything in the works? Is there anything that you want to preview for folks?
Puts me on the spot.
I don't know, Eric. What do you think?
Am I putting you on the spot?
I think two other people would want to know.
Or just to give him a safe out here, do you have another project that you're working on you'd like to point people towards?
Sure. If you're into angry political punk, when I say political punk, there are punk bands who they're angry, but they're not super political. So depending on what kind of mood you're in, we had a new EP Jockey Onassis did called Juvenile Deflection. Specifically, if you're really feeling angry, there's a song called Roe Your Vote. It's about Roe v. Wade being overturned. And we have a new EP, another one coming out in the fall sometime, to be named.
Okay.
But it'll be a little
Is this an
six-songer.
exclusive? Did we just get an exclusive?
Oh, yes, exclusive.
Heard it here first.
It'll be out. We're going to actually start recording this weekend. This timing's great.
How can people find you guys? Is Facebook the best way? Instagram?
We're on Facebook, Instagram. I'm in charge of that, so I wouldn't go there. It's pretty sparse. But we have a Bandcamp, and we're on all streaming platforms.
Okay, and it's Jockey, Jockey.
Yeah.
Onassis.
Okay.
For some reason, people have a hard time. They'll say Jakey Onassis or Jackie Onassis, and it's like, no.
Too many syllables.
We'll put the links in the in the thing, and so maybe I'll try to end us with a thought here. Do we want to kind of push? It's silly to advertise a band as female led, or
yes.
And so for Paul and I, maybe that would be as interesting as advertising a band that this band is sung by a bald guy.
Yeah, we're just saying,
go listen to this band.
This band with 4 male members. Why do I need to know that? Yeah. Like, okay.
Information not helpful.
It's not.
Yeah. I like it.
There are other ways to support. You can certainly Google which bands have women in them if you're looking at this, but I think we need Nick's female fronted as a label.
Right. So everybody please go look up Jockey Onassis. It is a male backed punk.
That's right.
Band.
That's right. There you go.
It is.
Thanks for listening to the Soapbox. Eric, how can people find us?
Well, conveniently, we put everything on our Linktree site. You can go to Linktree, search SoapBox Lex, and you'll find all of our socials there, plus ways to reach us, ways to engage, and some of our original content, so you can see some of the other stuff that we do.